It's my telescope. I installed the telrad on it after using it with this and other telescopes with a right angle finder, which is still attached to this telescope. The way telrad works is there's a base that you can see there attached with sticky tape, double-sided sticky tape, and you can see that double-sided sticky tape down in there, and then that line up the base rather. And at the top you can see the tape coming out there. Base attaches like that, and then the actual telrad just slips in and fits in there with a couple of mounting screws. And the way it works is, normally with the right angle finder or a magnifying finder, you'll stand at the back of the telescope and get down like that and move it left or right till you're sort of pointing at the target, and then go to the finder scope to get the correct altitude and get it right in the center. The problem with that is you get two views. You get a naked eye view of the sky where you can see all the stars and you can see everything, and then you go to the finder and you get the view through the finder, which is magnified, and you see a bunch of stars that you didn't see earlier because your eye couldn't pick them up. And also you only see a tiny little chunk of the sky rather than the whole thing. So you can go to the back of the telescope and think you've pointed at a star, and then go to the finder and wonder, is this the same star that I was looking at, or is this another star? And it can be hard to tell. So what the telrad does is it gives you a zero magnification view of exactly where you're pointed at. Conceptually, you could try to kind of think of it as a laser pointer pointed at a spot in the sky attached to the telescope. So when you first install it, there's 3 alignment screws here that you would use to align it with the telescope, just like any other finder. And the way you use it is, I'll take it off here real quick. You look through it like that, and you get this view of a little reticle, a little red circle on the sky. And if I point this at the corner of the shed there, it's raining, so you might be able to hear that, by the way. Point at the corner of the shed, when I move back and forth, the little red target doesn't move side to side. It's always stuck in the same spot with reference to the background, or with reference to the sky. When you point at the sky, it won't move side to side in the sky as you move, so it's not really important to get your eye like perfectly aligned. You just kind of get behind it and you can look through it. The other thing that's good is the size of the reticle doesn't change relative to the background when you come closer or farther from the finder. It's always the same relative to the background. So what this allows you to do is, whereas with your right angle finder you would point to the general direction of the sky with the telescope and then go to the finder and lose that orientation and the context. And on top of that, also, you're now at a right angle, so it makes it a little harder. Now you just have a telrad, and you just look through it and then point the telescope to where you want to go. It's easy if it's a bright target like a planet. You just point the telescope to the planet or the thing that you're going to look at, and then there you are once it's aligned to the eyepiece. If it's a dim target like a nebula or something that you can't see through the naked eye, the telrad helps, because if you know that you're star hopping with a right angle finder, you'll go find the first star and then find it in the finder, and then you'll be kind of blindly moving, looking for the second star without a wider view of the sky and without really knowing where your telescope's pointing to with respect to the sky. So you're kind of blindly going. Eventually you find a star, and then you wonder, is this the second star that I'm supposed to hop to? Or is it something else that I didn't realize was there because I couldn't see it, or I'm in totally the wrong place? And then even if it is the right star, then you're blindly moving on again to the final target. Whereas in a telrad, you see, okay, there's the first star, okay, there's a second star I'm looking for, and then I keep moving onwards in that same direction, and there's my target should be back in that area somewhere. Even if you can't see the target, you can see the sky, and when you're looking at an app or a map, you can see relative to the rest of the sky where your target should be, so it's easy to just point to that spot. Another example might be if you have a target halfway between two stars. If you're using a right angle finder or a magnifying finder, you'll go to one of the stars, then slide across and kind of try to remember the distance between the two, and then move back halfway to get to what you think is the right position. Whereas with the telrad, it's just, I'm going to point the red dot halfway between the two stars, and that's where I am. That's where the target is. Another thing that's useful is a lot of maps or mobile apps will have an overlay that you can use against the sky that will display the telrad reticle like that to scale, so that if you go to your map and it shows that your target has a star just to the left of it, that if you put the outer edge of the outer ring on that star, then you will be right on your target. Then you go to the sky and you take your telrad and you put the outer edge of the outer ring on that star, and then you know you're right on your target. So it just makes everything a lot easier. Since getting it, I don't know that I've used my magnifying finder even once, or maybe I have once or twice or a couple times. But even just the thought of having to align it again is like, oh, that's too much of a hassle. I'll just use my telrad because it works every time. I can go right to what I'm looking for. I don't have to worry about star hopping or jumping around. I don't have to go between those two views of the sky and the finder. Both views are there at the same time with the telrad. So there's no standing behind the telescope, swinging around the sky, and then moving up to the finder, wondering, am I really pointed at what I think I'm pointed at? And how do I get from here to where I want to go? You kind of just point by looking at the sky with the telrad, which is a lot easier and a lot better.